I've always loved taking late-night walks. There's a peace in the stillness that just makes life feel a bit simpler. I'm a welder by profession, been at it for over 40 years. I live alone on a big farm, just me and my dog Bosley. The house is way too big for one person, but I couldn't bring myself to downsize after my wife Maria passed away. My kids moved out years ago, and since cancer took her, it's just been me and Bosley. One night, after a long day in the workshop, I decided to go for a walk. My property is pretty vast, so even just one loop is usually enough to satisfy me. The air was cool, and Bosley trotted along beside me. Sometimes I think he likes our walks even more than I do. I've done that loop hundreds of times, but as I was heading back toward the house, something unusual caught my eye. I glanced up at the second-story window, the one that looks out from the bedroom Maria and I used to share. For a second, I thought I saw something move. I stopped in my tracks, staring up at that window. No one should have been in there. I hadn't even stepped foot in that room for years. My blood started to boil at the idea of some stranger breaking into my house. I wasn't going to stand for it. I rushed inside, heart pounding, and ran up the stairs. The room was empty, exactly how I'd left it, with nothing out of place. I searched everywhere I could think of, but found nothing. Sure, I was rattled, but mostly I was angry. I convinced myself I'd just imagined it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, had been there. The next night I was jolted awake by Bosley growling. He's a good dog, doesn't bark unless there's a reason. I sat up listening, and then I heard it, the creaking sound from upstairs. In my mind, it was more than just the house settling. I could swear they sounded like footsteps, coming from directly above me, right in the bedroom. I debated going downstairs to grab my hunting rifle, but held back, confident I could handle whoever or whatever was there. I grabbed a flashlight and went up to check, only to find the room untouched, just like before. Now my anger was turning into a gnawing anxiety. Something didn't feel right in that house. The following night, I came downstairs to find the kitchen lights on. I knew I'd turn them off before bed. I don't leave lights on, ever. At that point, there was no doubt in my mind. Someone was sneaking around my house. My pulse quickened, and I called the police, explaining that I thought someone might be inside. They came out, searched the place top to bottom, but found nothing. They were polite, told me to call if I needed them again, but I could tell they didn't believe me. Then, the worst night by far. I couldn't sleep and ended up going upstairs to check that room again. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it would calm my mind. But when I opened the door, I froze. Maria's clothes, which I'd carefully packed away after her death, were scattered all over the floor. Things like this don't just happen on their own. And then I saw her. A woman was standing in the doorway just staring at me. I couldn't see her face clearly, but I knew she wasn't Maria. She was shorter, and there was a coldness to her presence that sent a chill down my spine. I was terrified but reacted instinctively and ran at her. She bolted down the stairs and out the front door. By the time I got outside, she was gone. Bosley and I searched everywhere but found no trace of her. Months passed, and I barely slept. Every little sound had me on edge, convinced I'd hear footsteps from upstairs. I started keeping my rifle beside the bed, my nerves constantly frayed. I even considered calling my brother to stay with me, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I was raised to handle things on my own. One night, I was sitting in the living room when I spotted a figure standing in the yard, staring straight at me through the window. It was her again. My heart nearly stopped. I grabbed my rifle and dashed outside, Bosley at my side. She was still there, a silhouette in the moonlight, just watching me. I fired a few warning shots, hoping it would scare her off. She finally turned and disappeared into the night, but it didn't bring me any comfort. It was like I was being haunted by this random woman who seemed to be toying with me. I waited, watching the darkness, but she didn't come back. I haven't seen her since, but I know it's just a matter of time. I'm ready to defend myself if it comes to that. But living in this constant state of anxiety isn't something I think I can do forever. Thank God for Bosley. I don't know what I'd do without him. I'll send an update if anything changes.